July 15th, 1099, Jerusalem, the city that three religions call sacred, the walls that withstood Romans, Persians, and Arabs. That morning, they fell. What happened in the next few hours was not a battle. It wasn't a conquest. It was a disappearance, an erasure, a bloodstain that not even 9 centuries of rain could wash away. Chroniclers of the Crusade itself wrote a phrase that history textbooks avoid repeating. The knights rode in blood that reached their ankles. Even the reins of the horses were red. The question this documentary will answer is simple, and it will hurt. How did men who wore a cross on their chests and kissed a Bible before sleeping do this? And more, did they know what they were doing? Or did they genuinely believe that God wanted it? Let's enter Jerusalem, July 15th, 1099. Blood up to their ankles. To understand what happened inside, you first need to understand what happened outside. The Crusaders arrived in Jerusalem on June 7, 1099. They marched for 3 years. They lost 2/3 of their army along the way. Famine, plague, deserters, cannibals in the mountains of Anatolia. When they sighted the city walls, there were about 1,300 knights and 12,000 infantry soldiers left.
Against them, inside the walls, the Egyptian Fatimid garrison, about 1,000 well-armed men, and the civilian population, who hated the Crusaders as much as they hated the Egyptians. The problem was simple. Jerusalem could not be completely surrounded. There was a lack of wood for towers. There was a lack of water. The wells around the city had been poisoned or covered up. And worse, news arrived that an Egyptian relief army was coming from Cairo. The Crusaders had a window, and it was tiny. If they didn't take the city in weeks, they would die there, not by the sword, by thirst. It was then that a cleric named Peter Desiderius, some chroniclers say he was a monk, others say he was some kind of visionary, announced a vision. Bishop Adhemar of Lipoi, who died on the way, supposedly appeared in a dream and said, "Fast for 3 days, barefoot, circumnavigate the walls like Joshua at Jericho, and God will deliver the city." And they did. On July 8th, 12,000 men, barefoot and unarmed, walked in procession around Jerusalem. The Muslims on top of the walls laughed. 3 days later, the siege towers attacked. No one laughed anymore. The breach occurred in the northern sector, between Herod's Gate and the Damascus Gate. 2 knightly brothers, Godfrey of Bouillon and Eustace of Boulogne, were the first to set foot on top of the wall. From there was no more battle. There was a massacre. And this is where historical memory becomes unbearable, because the chroniclers hid nothing. They narrated with pride. Raoul of Caen, a Norman chaplain, wrote, "Inside the Temple of Solomon, our knights rode in blood that reached their knees, or rather, up to the reins of their horses." William of Tyre, decades later, tried to soften the blow. He failed. He wrote only, "The slaughter was so great that our men walked over corpses." But the most terrifying and most honest account came from a Muslim chronicler, Ibn al-Qalanisi, who wasn't there but interviewed survivors. The Franks killed everyone they found in the streets and houses, men, women, and children. Jews who had taken refuge in the synagogue were burned alive. Muslims inside the Dome of the Rock were beheaded in front of the place where Muhammad is said to have ascended to heaven. It is estimated that between 30,000 and 70,000 people died that day. It is impossible to know the exact number, because there was no one left to count the dead. Here's the detail that no Crusader movie will show. The Crusaders didn't kill out of anger, they killed for theology. For them, Jerusalem was the holy city, but it was polluted by 450 years of Muslim rule and 1,500 years of Jewish diaspora. The order was clear: purify. And in 11th century Catholic theology, purification meant one thing: blood.
There was a moment, according to the chronicler Fulcher of Chartres, when the Crusader leaders ordered a pause. They wanted to spare the Eastern Christians, Syrians, Armenians, Greeks, who lived inside the city. But the killing had already gotten out of control. Soldiers invaded houses, disemboweled pregnant women, and snatched children from their mothers' arms. One account says that Godfrey of Bouillon, the first ruler of the Latin Kingdom of Jerusalem, ordered his knights to protect the citadel where civilians had taken refuge. Other accounts say that he himself killed with his own hands. The truth? Probably both, because human beings are capable of praying in the morning and killing in the afternoon, and believing they did the right thing both times. At the end of the day, the Crusader leaders, Godfrey, Raymond of St. Gilles, Tancred of Sicily, walked barefoot to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. They knelt, they prayed, they thanked God for the victory, with their tunics still soaked in blood. The epicenter of the massacre was not on the walls, it was not at the gates, it was on the Temple Mount, the place that Jews call the Temple Mount and Muslims call Haram al-Sharif. Around noon, hundreds of Muslims took refuge inside the Al-Aqsa Mosque and the Dome of the Rock. They believed the Crusaders would spare Islam's holiest site in Jerusalem. They were wrong.
The Norman knights broke down the doors. What happened inside cannot be described in detail on many channels, but the chroniclers were explicit. Blood flowed down the mosque's steps. It formed puddles, then streams, then, according to them, a small lake. The Crusaders called the mosque the Temple of Solomon, and they believed they had reconsecrated the site to Christianity. In practice, they transformed the third holiest site in Islam into a granary, into a stable, into a bone depot. And the Jews? The entire Jewish community of Jerusalem, about 3,000 people, had taken refuge in the main synagogue in the Jewish quarter. The Crusaders surrounded the building. They set it on fire. Those who tried to leave were killed by the sword. Those who stayed inside were burned alive. There is no record of a single Jew being spared that day. There is no record of a single Muslim receiving clemency. There is only the silence of the chroniclers when asked, and then? Afterward, they went to dinner. The slaughter didn't last a day, it lasted 3. On the second day, the Crusader leaders realized a logistical problem. Corpses rotting under the July sun meant plague. So they ordered something almost more horrific than the massacre: forced cleansing. The few civilians who remained, some Eastern Christians, some slaves, some prisoners miraculously spared, were forced to pile the dead in the streets. The chronicles recount that the bonfires in the city burned for weeks. The smell of burnt flesh could be felt for miles. Travelers who arrived months later said that the ground was still slippery with human fat. On the third day, Godfrey of Bouillon issued a decree. Every Muslim still alive within the city should be executed, except those who paid an absurd ransom, 1 bezant per head. Almost no one had that money. Tradition says that Raymond of St. Gilles spared an entire neighborhood on Mount Zion because he negotiated with the local leaders before the siege. That was the only island of humanity in 3 days of darkness. A single island, in a sea of blood up to their ankles. What the Crusaders did in 1099 was not war. War has rules. It has victors and vanquished. It has surrender and exchange of prisoners. What happened there was an extermination. the Muslims did not forget. The Jews did not forget. When Saladin reconquered Jerusalem in 1187, 88 years later, he made sure to leave the gates open. He gave freedom to all Christians who wanted to leave. He only charged ransom to those who could pay. He freed thousands of poor people for free. Why? Because Saladin knew that the memory of 1099 was a more powerful weapon than any catapult. He told his commanders, "We will treat the Franks better than they treated our people. That way, the world will know who is civilized."
And the world knew. To this day, in the Arab and Muslim world, the word Crusader does not mean Christian warrior. It means barbarian. It means murderer. It means one who kills children and calls it a miracle. The question that remains, and that no history book will answer for you, is the cross still a symbol of love? Or has history transformed it, in many places in the world, into a symbol of blood up to ankles? Jerusalem remembers. The rest of us pretend to have forgotten. 1099, Jerusalem. 3 days, 30,000 dead, a river of blood. And a question that continues to echo for 900 years. Did God really want this? Or were they just men using God's name, doing what they always wanted to do? History doesn't judge. History only records. You who have listened this far, you who have had the courage not to turn it off, now carry this memory. What are you going to do with it?